Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet, and today, the death of Billy Paul. In recent days, the media has been telling us a lot of stuff associated with Prince. And, sideline note, my wife and I are about a month and a little bit apart, like a month and a week apart. I'm the cradle robber, for folks that are interested. We had a number of similar experiences because we grew up at the same time. And a couple of days after Prince's death, I said to my wife, "What were your recollections of Prince?" And she said to me, "Diamonds and Pearls." Now, Diamonds and Pearls was not even a song that I'd even thought about with regards to Prince's body of work. When I think of Prince, I think of Cream. I think of a song that was heavily marketed and really designed for a bunch of Puritans to lament over, associated with, the raunchiness of the song. I don't think it was a particularly good song. It wasn't particularly amazing or outstanding. You've got to appreciate, if you listen to things like Straight Outta Compton or Fear of a Black Planet or It Takes a Nation of Millions, Prince's Cream just seemed mediocre and designed really just to, get publicity where no meaningful publicity was due. With all the lamentations associated with the death of Prince, I realised that my wife and I were just not part of a generation that saw Prince as particularly radical or really particularly interesting musically. And it's with this perspective that the death of Billy Paul impacted me. I discovered Billy Paul when I was probably maybe 19, travelling through Malaysia on an island called Penang. I found a little out-of-the-way record shop where I purchased 360 Degrees of Billy Paul, and also Public Enemy's You're Gonna Get Yours, with the Terminator X scratch mix on the back. It was an amazing album that defined my perspective associated with Public Enemy. I already had their original album, so I already had You Get Yours, My Uzi Weighs a Ton, all these kind of tracks that were on the original album. But what caught me as well was this Billy Paul album. Not every track on it was really appealing to me, but I liked in particular Am I Black Enough for You and also Brown Baby, which I thought were two tracks that were just completely outstanding, very much in a kind of soul funk crossover, big band, rich band, and music for the time that I thought was so impressive. We're talking 1971 here. We're talking a year after the Beatles broke up, and he was able to create this soul music that was transcendent and could be listened to really at any age. It was also highly sampleable. It was really a kind of funk soul crossover, which I thought was just amazing. And musically, I found it outstanding. He also had a saccharine voice where, Me and Mrs. Jones was on that album as well. I was felt bad for the fact that there were these kind of diametric Billy Paul songs. On one side, there were kind of revolutionary songs, and on the other side, there were kind of easy listening, almost to the point of Muzak songs. But I always associated Billy Paul with a kind of survivalist revolutionary figure. And in that light, the death of Billy Paul really impacted me vastly more than Prince, because I didn't think Billy Paul was a phony. I didn't think Billy Paul, although critically, talking to you now, I do appreciate that the songs that Prince produced that I found distasteful, not because they were obscene or anything like that, but just because they were a little bit too easy. Billy Paul also had some of that repertoire to get radio play. But he also had Am I Black Enough for You to get back to what he was trying to do, which was ultimately musical revolution. And for that light, in the early encounters that I had with his music, probably, 25 years after he had originally recorded this music, I had to give the musician, the singer, a lot of respect. On the back of the album, which I probably should pull out and read, but let me just ad-lib it off the top of my head, they described how Billy Paul was more than a superstar. He was transcendent of all these things, and for the time, I think his music was amazing. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.